Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house on a Tuesday evening. In England, it's been a fairly warm day today for a March. So of course, we're not speaking some in England. We're going to go a bit more further abroad. And what I know, this country is usually raining a lot or is usually fairly warm. So we're speaking to a lovely lady called Melissa, and I'll let Melissa introduce herself in a second, but she's from South Africa. So I'm looking forward to chatting to Melissa today because I met her originally on a Sunday morning program called the Sunday Assembly. I think it was last year, Melissa, we first spoke. So
yeah,
I thought it was, yeah. So I know we spoke on the Sunday Assembly program, which Tony, my friend Tony Kinsella, was a big hand in. And I don't know how Tony found out about you originally, but I was spellbound by your words. And it took us a while to get this sorted out because it's a story of my life, usually. But anyway, so, okay, Melissa, obviously for people who don't know you then, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell people obviously where you're originally from, where you live now, and what starts you off with your creativity.
Hi, I'm Melissa Sussens. I am a poet, a veterinarian, a queer person. I live in Cape Town and I was born in Pretoria in South Africa. I've always written, but over the last few years, I've become more focused in my writing, and poetry is always the thing that's drawn me. So I've, especially with lockdown, spent a lot of time advancing my skills as a poet and a writer. Yeah.
I think it's the same for me as well, because like I've been writing, I've been writing since I was 10. So was it something similar for you that base, or was it that sort of age, and was it you first started?
Yeah, I think my earliest memories of writing are like doing rhyming clues for treasure hunts as a kid. Like for my brother's birthday party and that kind of thing. So
brilliant.
Definitely always been writing.
Yeah, same for me as well. So like I said, in my case, I did my first poem when I was 10. Got attention on my second poem when I was 11. So, but that's a story for another day, that one. So, brilliant. So, okay, now, obviously, there's quite a bit of ground we want to cover today, like I said, with your poetry, because I was reading your bio before, and it was fascinating stuff here. So, now, obviously, I know you've had quite a bit of work published in magazines such as Germ magazine, Capsule Stories, Anti-Heroin Chick, and I think it's Jar magazine, but the fonts are quite small on this. But the first thing I want to talk about, Melissa, obviously, you said you've been learning a lot of your writing over the lockdown period, and I can see that where obviously you got a second prize, didn't you, in 2020 in the new Contrast National Poetry Prize. So tell us about that first of all, then.
Yeah, so in South Africa, the biggest and oldest lit journal is New Contrast, and they started this National Poetry Prize with cash prizes as well as publication. I submitted to it. I think I submitted 4 poems, and then they announced a shortlist of 10 people from that original submissions of however many hundreds they got, and my poem was on there. The poem is called A New Veterinarian Spends a Compulsory Year Working at a Slaughterhouse. Which is not really a poem you would think would make it to a shortlist.
No, I was going to ask you about your veterinarian in a bit next, actually, but we'll talk about that now then. But that's a heck of a title for a piece, that. What? Yeah, wow. What was that piece then, obviously? And I'm sure I've read that piece somewhere, or you might have even read that one out over at Sunday Assembly.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you did, because a title like that does tend to stick in your head a bit, that one. Was that the kind of piece then where the title came first, or did you write that after you'd done the poem?
The title came after the poem, and the title was kind of trying to explain the poem in as brief a way as possible for people to get the context of the poem.
Wow. No, brilliant. That's great stuff. No, I say indeed. So, well, like I said, it's with your poetry then, in general, then, how I'm trying to think how to phrase this then. So, like, do you have it when you were growing up? Were there any writers that you really influenced you when you work?
As a young child, I read Enid Blyton and that kind of thing.
It's my sister's favourite novelist. That she absolutely worships Enid. Famous Five is her favourite one. I know it is.
Yeah. So that, growing up with that kind of fantasy and these characters that became beloved. As a teenager, I got a little bit more into poetry and like when I was at university, started listening to spoken word, and watching Buxton poetry and that kind of thing on YouTube.
Yeah, backup posts is incredible. I admire people for doing that, because I would never have the guts to do that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's amazing. So yeah, these days those poets have kind of inspired me. Andrea Gibson, Megan Falley, Rachel McKibbins.
Yeah, I've heard of all three of them on brilliant stuff. Okay, I want to also ask you well, because obviously, I know reading it up in what you said there before was, you also was selected, weren't you, as well, one of the winners of the Clement Gold Writing Competition as well. So when did this happen then? Was it around about the same time then, was it, or was it?
It was, I think it was the year before, or towards the end of the year before. So also during the lockdown time. But it was Clement Gold is a Nachi or Mandarin producing company here. So they do quite a lot for the arts, which is really cool. And they had this fruit themed, citrus fruit themed competition. So I was writing to a prompt in a way, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love writing to prompts. I think if you get a good prompt, can't you? It can really spark you off sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah, I think my best writing happens with prompts.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like a guide sometimes, isn't it? And I think what do you think, like, because obviously that's like going to a workshop, and I'm guessing in your case there, it'd been like, it would have I think it forces your brain to operate in different ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it unlocks things you wouldn't necessarily get to without starting down a path.
Yeah, obviously with your job then, obviously, like, because people that might know you would obviously know you're a vet. That's in like your day, well, of what I guess is your day job, really.
Yeah.
Do you find your worlds collide then with your poetry and your job?
Yeah, definitely. I think also maybe more in the last few years that I've started embracing writing about my more unique work experience, and it gives me a cathartic outlet for a lot of the stresses of the job. So it's definitely a big theme of my work.
Yeah, can't blame it, because I've told you off what my day job is. I'm usually a bit more careful how I actually adapt to that in my work. But it does. I think it's your experiences, isn't it, as a writer? And
yes.
I'm guessing that's what yours is like himself. So he said when you're doing your vet work, I was like, that title he said before to us there. I think it all tends to come together, doesn't it? Really. So, so straight away. So now, also I want to ask you as well. And also, I know, have you done a couple of festivals as well, haven't you? I'm guessing both of these are in South Africa as well. You performed at the Poetry and Mcgregor Festival. Now, tell us about your experiences at a festival, then, first of all. Then.
Yeah, so Poetry in Mcgregor is a lovely little festival here in South Africa. Mcgregor is this tiny little village, like a sleepy hamlet. And for this one weekend, normally in August, but last year they moved it to November, it just transforms into, like, the whole village just becomes this little poetry hub, and poets all gather there. So it's amazing. And they have various events and little group things and individual things and open mics and book sales, and it's just a wonderful weekend. So
sounds like my sort of festival, that straight away.
Yes, absolutely. If you're ever in South Africa, you have to come for that. I've been able to participate there since 2018. And last year I also ran an open mic, which was really fun.
Wow.
Brilliant. It's been fun to kind of grow in the community through repeated visits.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I don't think you know this, but I regularly co-run a monthly open poetry night myself. So, what was your experience of organising that? Then did you find that really quite an interesting experience?
Yeah, it was stressful, nerve-wracking.
They always are.
I'm outside my comfort zone as an MC, but it was really nice to see the enthusiasm of how many people wanted to share and that kind of thing. That poetry is alive and well. So it was very rewarding.
I'm always a believer in creativity, and it applies to poetry as well. Well, since I first got into this game more than a few years ago, it always leads in different directions. Like some ways I don't think you necessarily expected at the time. Could you imagine yourself when you were, say, a little bit younger, you could have been emceeing like at a festival like that?
No, I don't think so. I'm a quiet, reserved person, so it's been really good personal growth to put myself out in that way.
It's surprising for me, and well, I'll be honest, I'm nearly 50 now. When I first started getting creativity, I was 35. I was fairly quiet. It changed over time. And have you found that for yourself? And you'd changed as a person since you started getting creative, involved in your creativity?
Yeah, I think writing, creating, and sharing has made me a braver person, a more vulnerable person. You're really bearing your soul, and then to actually go say those words to other people, whether they're friends and family or in a public space like an open mic, it's made me a lot braver to be who I am in all aspects of my life.
Yeah, I noticed that with for when you've had some poetry done, haven't you, with the Poetry for Human Rights website, Stand Foundation, and for example, I know that one because I've just spotted that before I did, and that was something that's probably comes in your natural growth, then, really, hasn't it, as a person?
Yeah, to apply yourself to different topics and
I agree.
Speak out.
I think as poets, I think we're almost subconsciously expected to go and do things that other people wouldn't necessarily do. And I think that's your case there straight away with it. Yeah, I agree. Now, I also want to know about as well, Off the Wall. You've Off the Wall as well as a festival. So tell us about that experience.
Not a festival, but it's a weekly open mic here.
Right. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, with COVID, obviously it was online Zoom, but they have started this year with some in-person things again. So I've read there. I've also, last year I was involved in starting another open mic thing here in Cape Town called the Red Wheelbarrow.
That's a good name.
Yeah, we host poets every week. So we have a weekly thing every Thursday night, and then we also have an open mic. So that I've got a friend in the UK who's popped in a few times, so that's something that people are welcome to join.
Oh yeah, I'll take some details off you later on. Definitely, if that was on Zoom. Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah.
So that's
also nice.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, obviously, I want to. The main part of the conversation today is I know obviously you've got a collection on the way soon, haven't you, as well? So I want to ask you about that next. So, and that's forthcoming from Caravan Press. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that then. I know we booked this in. People are wondering, we booked this in, was it November last year, didn't we? So, and it took us a while to get things connected for various reasons. But I didn't know you had a collection on the way at the time. So tell us about this collection and you've got in mind.
Yeah, so it's fairly new news. So it wasn't something I knew was happening at the time we first spoke. I submitted my manuscript to various presses and got a few rejections along the way. And then this one let me know actually at the Mcgregor Festival last year that she was going to publish it. And earlier this year we sat down and ironed out the details. But I've got my first full-length debut collection coming. Sort of, it should be around middle of the year, maybe around July, hopefully.
Brilliant.
It's going to be titled Slaughterhouse. So they are...
It's like an eye-catching title there, is it?
Yeah, but it's not all about slaughter, though there are quite a few death poems, but not from the animal death only, but just my perspective on it as a vet who's dealing with animals being put down and that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. I get it completely with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, how of what period has this collection been wrote then? As it took you quite a while to write this collection.
Yeah, I think some of the oldest poems are probably from 2018. The majority of it has been written since COVID, really, since 2020. But I've got older poems through the last 4 years.
Brilliant. Have you found another? Because I was going to ask you about this before, but I always wander around these conversations anyway. But obviously, we've both talked about COVID during this period already. Do you think your work actually changed much over the COVID situation? Did it make
Yeah,
you
I
look at
think,
things in different ways? I think.
yes, it definitely gave me, I think before COVID, I'd gone through quite a long dry spell of not writing much. And it gave me time, even though I worked throughout. Obviously, being a vet, we didn't close, but there wasn't other things to do outside of, in South Africa, we weren't even allowed to walk our dogs for a period. So like
Yeah,
we
I
were
heard
really bound to our houses.
I've got a friend that lives in Cape Town, and there's another
Yeah.
poet, and she told me exactly the same. Where she told me some quite graphic stories. I'm not going to repeat online. Certainly, it is. Well, it certainly was. I never saw the army on the streets where I live. Anyway, certainly we were in lockdown with machine guns. That's for sure. So
yeah, no, it was hectic. So there was a lot of time to sit with yourself and your work and write again. And once I got started, it just snowballed. And
yeah,
without COVID, I don't think it would have happened.
I think it forced me to go in a different direction in my work, and I think you maybe go more inward, a little bit more reflective. And did it do that for you then? Do you reckon with your work?
Yeah, I think for me, mostly what I can attribute my unlocking to is the poetry course that I was involved in from the beginning of COVID, which is Megan Falley's Poems That Don't Suck. And I had done the course with her in 2018 as a one-on-one thing. And then she launched this group version now with COVID and lockdown and everyone being stuck at home. And I participated in that, and that unlocked things through prompts and just, her teaching methods. And from there, it's just been nonstop outflowing.
Good. No, good. Yeah. I'm pleased to that. Yeah, it does. As I ended up, I'm going to probably relaunch this again soon as well, where as soon as we went into lockdown in England, when I got in touch with a couple of dear writing friends of mine, and we ended up doing like a fortnightly Zoom poetry reading or writing actually it was. And my wife Amanda was involved in it as well, and there's about 6 of us, and we were bouncing off each other in a way that was quite extraordinary, I think, in some ways, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's why I think lockdown's been good in some ways, and I think this sounds like it's been good for you straight away.
Yeah, no, that community that we found, even though we're far apart and separated, I think the world feels closer to me, or I feel like I've got more community than I had before.
Yeah, I think so. I think lockdown's been good for that. Did you use Zoom much for lockdown?
No, not really, not at all.
I'd used it twice, I seem to recall. It's been great because it like helped me out with this podcast series. And prior to that, I did chat to some people up in England, but I'd never really gone abroad. And it's been like I've made so many new friends all over the world. I don't know, it's opened the world up really. It's possibly
exactly.
It's been a fascinating experience. So now a couple of things to conclude with anyway, to help us wrap up then before we go on to using poems for us, is obviously you're telling me about some teaching assistant work you were doing before, weren't you? Was it mentoring? Tell us about that then.
Also, so through Megan Falley's Poems That Don't Suck that I spoke about, after I participated in the first round, I in the course we generate work, we give each other feedback, that kind of thing. And I was the overeager student in the class that was giving everybody feedback. So thereafter I was promoted to get to stay on for the next course as an assistant and giving feedback and helping guide people. And I've been doing that since we just finished our 8th round.
Wow.
Beginning of this year.
Excellent.
So it's been fantastic. It's amazing, very rewarding work for me to see poets grow and to help them, grow their poems and edit and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, same. I'll tell you off mine before it was I've mentored 3 poets, or 4 poets actually, or 3.5 you can argue, and 3 of them have got really good book deals in the poetry now, which is better than what I've done, but it is what it is. So that's it is. But yeah, you get something out of it. I love helping people, and I can see that what you're telling me there. It's an adrenaline rush, isn't it? Really, we feel like you're just encouraging to people all the time.
Yeah, no, and you get back just as much as you give, I think.
Yeah, definitely. No, brilliant. Good luck with it. Now, I was going to quickly check with you as well, because I noticed on your Instagram page, you've been mentioning Napa Weedo. So are you going to be doing that this year then, again, National Poetry Writing Month?
I'd like to. I think I've probably done like 3 out of 4 in the last few years. Last year I did. I also started writing prompts last year. So I shared 30 prompts on my Instagram page and wrote to those myself.
Oh, brilliant.
So I'm planning to do that again this year. I'm a little bit behind on getting prompts together. I'm normally a little bit more organized, but I'm going to, by the end of the weekend, have my 30 prompts ready. So yes, definitely.
No, good luck for you. I know what you mean. I've been doing it, must be my 10th year now this year, I reckon it is. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's just like I try to be sort of clear as much as I can so I can sit down and try and do some writing. It might end up being 30 haikus, and I think I did that last year actually. So it's like instead of like writing proper poems, but it's an adrenaline rush, isn't there? Really, I think if you get yourself going to it.
Yeah, something about that commitment. I think. I mean, some of the days I barely write anything, or it feels like it's total nonsense. But from National Poetry Writing Months, I've got some poems that I've ended up loving and submitting for publication and whatever. So
yeah, same for me. I think sometimes like both the day jobs we've got, you can get to the end of the day thinking,
it's like a chore.
Oh no, no.
Like scribble 2 seconds before bed and you're like, no, I've done it.
Done. Next day, worry about it then. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, now
still counts.
Oh, it's definitely a poem in my mind, right? To conclude, anyhow, Melissa, if people want to find out more about you, where are the best going?
At this point, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Melissa Sussens. I am working on a website, which will hopefully launch before my book does. So that will also have some info then, which will be melissasussens.com, but that's not ready yet. But yeah, my social media has all my links to poems and all that good stuff.
Brilliant. Okay then, what we'll do, we'll wrap up now on this part 1. We'll stop the recording and everybody hang around. We'll come back in part 2. And with Melissa, we'll read out a couple of pieces for us. I've really enjoyed this today, Melissa, so thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a minute.